All right, welcome back to the Fabrication Station podcast. I'm your host, Mike Wagner from Cornfield Customs. We've got a really good show for you today. Gene is back as our co-host. Hello, Gene.
Hello, everybody.
This one's going to be really cool. Our guest is Krystal Hess from Texas, and she runs a really cool organization called Motorcycle Missions. Tell us a little bit about it, Krystal.
So Motorcycle Missions is a 501c3 nonprofit that I founded. The idea came to me in 2015, and then I got my 501c3 status in 2016. And we've been doing motorcycle therapy with veterans and first responders with PTSD ever since. So we have a variety of programs. We have a motorcycle build mentorship, which basically gets veterans together, about a group of about 8 to 10 vets working on a bike build. Some of them are from scratch, and we'll fabricate the entire bike from just bare metal and just drop an engine in it and build the bike around it, or we will use a bike that already exists and do a custom around that. So we are actually on our 14th bike build right now. And we build bikes across the nation. So right now we have one going on in Colorado. We've got plans for one in Ocean City, Maryland next year, possibly Minnesota as well. And we've done Phoenix, we've done California, Cleveland, Ohio, but we're based out of Texas. So we've done a number of bike builds in Austin, Dallas, north of Dallas in a little town called Paris, Texas. And so that is just one component of our program. And we also from that have also done welding classes and fabrication classes on the side as well.
Okay.
So yeah, we do that more so that we can get the guys kind of, because a lot of them to come back and don't know really what direction they want to go. And so this often will introduce them to welding. And, if they like it, we've had actually a number of our vets go and enroll in classes at local colleges here after our program, because they just needed to give it a hand and try it before figuring out that that's actually what they wanted to do. So it's been kind of really neat to see over the last few years it developed. So
yeah, I bet that's really hard for a lot of guys to get back into civilian life, after being on the battlefield and kind of redirecting their lives as just a run-of-the-mill civilian, if that's what you would want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do notice, with a lot of our guys, we kind of have different characters. We have like some really outgoing guys that kind of shove their issues down, and suppress them. And then those kind of surface under, harder, stressful scenarios. And then we have some guys that are more, they have a lack of confidence, or they just aren't good with people or talking with people, and this gets them together in a setting where they can open up with guys like themselves, and then they find themselves. I have one vet in particular, his name's Mike, that basically said, like, this is totally transformed me. I used to avoid social settings completely, and I hated going out and having to socialize with people. But he said, like, once he got into that surrounding and he realized it was a safe place, and, he had a hard time just talking to anyone, like, face to face. But then this actually brought him out of his shell, and he started to gain more confidence. And then the next thing he's, advocating for motorcycle missions and what we do, and has found his voice. So, we have those scenarios. We have guys that go off their medications. Guys who've reconnected with their spouses or their family after some hard times. So it's kind of all encompassing in all the different ways it can help and transform these guys. But it definitely opens doors for them. And more than anything, the number one thing that I hear them saying they love most about it is the camaraderie that they get. Yeah. So they just get to hang out with guys like themselves that they wouldn't know normally, and it gets them out of the house, right? So
yeah.
They're not sitting on the couch playing video games or, getting into unhealthy habits. They're actually looking forward to build night or, I forgot to mention too, we have motocross classes as well. So we do dirt bike training, and we actually are just starting 2 new programs. One is going to be adventure riding, and we have we're going to be doing track days soon. So we have local tracks here all over Austin. Actually, we have Circuit of the Americas, which is our Moto Grand Prix track. So we're going to be doing track days there, and we bought like 4 little 150 race bikes. We're going to start doing what we call mini GP. So
cool.
You go on go-kart tracks with these things in full leathers, and you just have an absolute blast. So, yeah, so that's another aspect of us. It's just we're not just fabricating and building bikes. We're also riding bikes and getting out that adrenaline aspect of the thing too.
Yeah.
It sounds to me more like you guys are fabricating and building humans back to normality, or just regular everyday living. You know, being able to be humans again.
Definitely. It's kind of symbolic. A motorcycle build is kind of symbolic of their lives. Like, so we have, you have like an old junk beater bike that someone beat the shit out of, and it's rusty and old and stiff and parts aren't moving correctly. And then, we get the vets together and they restore it, they renew it and turn it into something beautiful, and when the bikes are done, we actually take them on the show circuit and travel across the country competing in bike competitions. And through that they get to come and attend those events, and it's just a lot of fun. It restores a lot of confidence and pride in themselves and what they can accomplish.
I was just flipping through some pictures, seeing what you guys did over there. I hadn't explored you much at all, and you guys built some pretty serious one-off stuff. I mean, it's not like much anything I've ever seen before. It's all it's not anything run of the mill. Honestly, it's pretty out there, and I like it. I dig it.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Thank you. Yeah. So we try and build showstoppers. I think every single bike we've built has won some award of some sort. We won a national championship with our second bike built, which was a complete from the ground build. We just took a motor out of a shovel head that was donated. A 1972 was donated by another veteran to us. The rest of his bike we couldn't really do much with. It was just in too rough a shape. So we yanked the motor, we rebuilt it, and then we built an entire motorcycle around it. And it's a little board tracker, looks like something, out of the early 1900s. And it's really cool. The throttle is actually where your brake would normally be. So it's actually through a lever. But this bike now sits in a museum in Dallas called the Hess Museum, which has some of the most prestigious bike builds in the world in it. And so we're really fortunate to, have a platform that supports us so much, like the community and everything. When we go to these bike shows, they know us, they support us. But yeah, our bike builds are, they're all different. Every single one of them is different. Our fourth bike build is a Triumph Bonneville that we built a sidecar. So the vets actually got to build the sidecar, bend the tubing and everything like that. We've done a bike build off between a team of vets in Austin and a team of vets in Dallas. Indian Motorcycle donated 2 bikes, and we did quite a bit of fab work on both of those. Build 8 in Cleveland was a complete build. We yanked the motor out of a Triumph Speedmaster, built the bike around it. We've built a land speed bike that we actually race twice a year.
Do you race that down at the Texas Mile, or do you go to like Bonneville or any of the other?
No, we just do the Texas Mile. The Bonneville is just, we might eventually end up there, but right now it's just not in our sights.
Okay.
But also too, we don't, we're all volunteer based right at the moment. Mm-hmm. So we are getting a little too big for our britches right now. So we're just trying to manage with what we have right now and do well at that. So right now Bonneville is just not in our sights at all. But the Texas Mile, because it's local, all the vets are able to just ride down there on their motorcycle or drive down there and attend, because it's really close. So, yeah. And we do that twice a year in March and in October. And then throughout the year, we tune the bike, we work on it, we bring the vets back, which actually leads me to another really important thing. We have an alumni program. So once you've gone through our program, bike builds or rides or whatever, you're part of the family. So you become part of the alumni group. So you're able to come back and attend any of the events you want. If if you've been on a bike build, you can come back and mentor the next group of vets and just be a part of it in some capacity. So we don't ever, once they're gone, like once their bike is done or their motocross ride is over, we don't just say goodbye. We try and involve them in everything motorcycle that we can.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, especially, the long term, being able to come back and, be like a big brother or a mentor to somebody new in the program since you've already been there. I mean, that has to be a huge help as well, just.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It gives them a real sense of confidence. The other thing that we have in our near future is Gold Star families. So families who have lost their parent and their spouse, we're going to be doing a big brother, kind of big sister motocross program. So we would partner the kids up with another veteran in our program to ride motocross with. So it kind of is where the kids, they've lost their father figure and come to the track and ride with our vets.
Yeah.
On little bikes that we provide for them. So we're doing that as well. But yeah, this is most of the motocross and all the riding is in Texas, just because it's very time consuming. It requires a lot of volunteers. Mm-hmm. We have over 60,000 volunteer hours, but from our local volunteers. So all that time goes into donating, coaching. Like we've got a bunch of our vets who went through my program who are coaching the next group of veterans, and then those same guys will go and take a welding class. And so it's really cool. We're really building a community. It's really a family around this. And we have done very well in the last 5 years using other people's motorcycle shops or fabrication shops. So every single build that we've done has been built in someone else's shop. Okay. Including some Harley Davidson dealerships as well. We've done 2 bike builds in Harley Davidson dealerships. The Harley Davidson dealership donated a lift and the expertise and the staff, their own staff, to mentor builds, which is really, really awesome. But we just got our first shop for ourselves, a 5,000 square foot shop just north of Austin, and so. We have 3 motorcycle lifts in it, and we are trying to fill it up with more and more equipment, metal shaping equipment, and we're sponsored by Lincoln Electric, so we've got our fair share of Lincoln welders, both MIG and TIG, and we're going to be starting to acquire as much metal shaping fabricating tools as we can. So. We're trying to raise money for that at the moment. So, and then once we get that, then we'll be a full custom shop all in itself.
That's awesome. Because I know me and you've talked in the past about when you get that side kind of up and running, that I'd be more than happy to come down and donate some time to help with a weekend class or.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
that'd be incredible.
I mean, I think what you're doing is really amazing because. My uncle's a Vietnam vet, so I mean he's talked a lot about how veterans get overlooked, and it's just kind of sad that our veterans go fight our fight and protect the homeland, and then come back and they just they fade away and people forget about it. And I think what you're doing is a great cause, and I'd be more than happy to help out any way I can.
Well, we would love to have you down here for sure. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, the good thing is I've got friends just south of Austin, so that'd be, a good visit to go see them as well. And so are you down in Austin now? Because I know when we first met, you were more up towards Dallas.
Well, we had bike builds going on in Dallas, so I was up there an awful lot.
Okay.
I feel like I spent most of 2019 driving up I-35 between Austin and Dallas.
Yeah.
So no, I live in Austin. I've been here since 2011. But Dallas was I was just up there so much that it felt like I lived there.
Yeah.
So we had a lot going on in 2019 for sure. The president of my organization actually lives there. in Dallas, and so he will be heading the mini GP program, which is the little 150s that we do on the go-kart tracks. So he'll be managing that up there, as well as some adventure riding in Oklahoma. So once we get that up and running, that I'll probably be up in Dallas again a lot more, but he's going to take the reins on that for the most part. So
yeah, that's very cool.
So do you guys, whenever you do these builds on these bikes, you were saying you did one in Cleveland, you did some in Texas, and are you doing all of them out of Texas, or do you go to wherever those builds are at? I might have misunderstood, or I don't know if you said that or not at the beginning.
So depending on where the bike build is, our partnering shop will donate the space. Some of the shops will have a mentor there, like the Harley Davidson dealerships, for instance. Their staff actually mentored our builds. So they were there, we pick a day of the week, like every Saturday at 2:00, we'll meet for 4 hours, 5 hours. We work on the bike, and then we do that every Saturday for 6 months is usually the typical time frame that it takes for us to build a bike, 1 day a week.
Yeah.
Also, we have a lot of staff working behind the scenes doing things. So, with Cleveland, I was flying to Cleveland every 3 weeks to go up there, help. And then at the end, we had, the final push trying to get everything done. So I had a number of me and my volunteer build mentors and fabricators would fly up there to assist in the build process, especially, if they get stuck or they hit a roadblock or something, we'd fly up there, help them out. The bike build we did in California, Build 9, was an all-female veteran bike build that we did at the Dofo winery. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but the gentleman, Marcelo Dofo, he collects vintage Ducatis, and his whole entire winery is all vintage motorcycle inspired. And it's actually, it's a destination. It's a place that if you're ever in Temecula, California, or near San Diego, or driving up the highway from San Diego to LA, go stop by there. It's totally worth it. The motorcycles he has on display there are just incredible. But it's in the winery, which is just super cool. So we actually built a motorcycle. We actually restored I think it's a 1972 Honda CL350 there. And so, I was spending a lot of time at the Dofo winery, which I'll tell you, I was not complaining about that because it was beautiful. And so, we'd have our bike builds there. I think every Wednesday night is what we did. So yeah, between, I have, I don't know if you know Sophie Singos from GT Moto, but she's a fabricator as well. And she kind of is my wingman as far as helping me with all of this stuff. So, another veteran in my program, John Lawton, he is a fabricator as well. So he would come with me, and if we needed, fabricating expertise, we would include him. And then David Roy, who used to own Voodoo Vintage, which makes motorcycle frames and front ends and that sort of thing. He was the build mentor on Build 1, 2, 4, and he also came and assisted with the Cleveland build. So his style and design largely inspires a lot of our bikes. And actually the bike build that we're starting right now, it's actually a bike that we're not allowed to talk about until it's done. But he's involved in that one as well.
Yeah, those are always the best kind of projects, when it's kind of top secret and it gets everybody excited. But
yeah, we haven't announced it or anything, but we can't even, I don't even know how we'd announce it, because we can't even say who it's with, because it would give it away.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but that one's going to be really high profile and really exciting. So did that answer your question? I kind of went off on a tangent.
Yeah, so you guys try to make it a point to wherever the bike is going to be based out of, you try to make it a point to go to there to build them at that shop wherever the location is.
Yeah, and we've got one going on in Colorado right now at Roy's Toys Customs. He's a friend of mine. He's also a police officer, but he builds bikes, and he's an award-winning bike builder. So he's hosting a group of police officers building a bike in his shop right now. So I've only, he's very competent. I've only had to fly there one time, and that was on the first day. So, some of the builds I have to fly in more. It just depends on the complexity of the build and what's going on and who's hosting it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes some of these are, for the build host, I think build 8 was a little bit over the heads of the people who volunteered to host it, which was fine. So that just meant we had to fly in a little bit more and be present more and help. So, yeah, so they're all different. Build 10 is our Hayabusa that we land speed race. I mean, Joey Wilhite's been racing since he was a little kid, and he could tear an engine down and rebuild it with his eyes closed. And so the guys around here, I mean, Joey's always helping them constantly with their own builds and their own bikes and fixing this and fixing that. But, we get together often and we'll be, tearing the engine apart and fixing something or, improving something. And so, all of our build mentors all have many, many strengths. And so we're very lucky to have who we have on our volunteer staff. And again, this all is volunteer. There's nobody at Motorcycle Missions that gets paid. So
yeah, I mean, I imagine it has to be real hard for you as well. With as much time as you put in and still having a full-time job. I can't even imagine. Like I've got so much stuff on my plate, but I think you've got so much going on.
Yeah, and for people who don't know me, I'm a nurse, and I do work, especially through the pandemic. I was working full time. Right now, I'm working about 30 hours a week. But Motorcycle Missions in 2019 was an 80-hour-a-week job. We had 6 motorcycle builds going on across the country at one time.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
So I was flying everywhere, and then the pandemic hit. And if the pandemic didn't hit, I probably would have kept that momentum up. But I mean, there's only so many years I can dip into my savings.
Yeah.
To make this happen. So the last couple of years, I've actually enjoyed just working because I've needed to kind of pay myself back for a lot of the money I've spent on Motorcycle Missions. But it's getting momentum again because of pandemic's over and people are getting back out there. And our biggest challenge right now is the supply issue. So getting parts and getting people to, follow through with manufacturing those parts have been kind of a challenge. But I think those are things that we're all going through across the industry. So it's not just something that's just on us. It's everybody's kind of got the same pains right now. But
yeah, and I mean, all we can do is what we can do.
Yeah.
It's not ideal that we can't get what we need, but can't do much about it, so we just suffer.
Well, yeah, and the pandemic really made me want to focus more on the actual motorcycle riding aspect of things because that's more tangible and it's COVID friendly, or like, it's not something like going out and racing a motorcycle is not, it's just easier. It's easier, and you can get out there and you're in the fresh air, you're out there, and it's a solo sport. Whereas a bike build, all the Harley Davidson dealership, Buddy Stubbs, where we had build 12, which is our Arizona build, which I don't have on our website. We just revealed it at Arizona Bike Week last week. Or last month, but they actually shut down their dealership just like a lot of other dealerships did. And so we didn't, that bike build started in October of 2019 and we didn't finish it until spring of this year or like winter of this year, I guess like February, March. So, but that's, that's because of the pandemic, like the shop shut down, and then, a bunch of the staff that were working on our bike build got laid off. So we lost our build mentors. And so then me and my team were flying in more often, and we had to move the bike to another shop, and then another shop because that person got a job in Africa and couldn't help us anymore. And so we run into little challenges like that, but every single bike build we've done has been completed and the vets have revealed it. And it's been, it's been a really interesting journey, but I think for the future, like I said, we're going to tone down the bike builds to maybe 2 a year, just so that we can do 2 really good, and we can manage them easier. It's easier to fly to 2 different cities than 6 in 1 year, managing bike builds, and then focus also more on the throttle therapy side of things, which is the motorcycle riding.
Yeah, and you can probably reach out to larger groups at that point. With, a build, you might be able to have 10 or 15 guys there without stepping on each other's toes. But I guess at a riding event, I mean, there could be 40, 50 people there as spectators and helpers and riders. So the reach is so much greater.
Well, and so like with our bike builds, we don't allow them to bring their families to, when we do the bike reveal and all that thing, yes, but to the bike build nights, no. It's just a time for them to connect with their brothers and sisters and have fun and get away from the family. Whereas the motocross and the land speed racing, everybody brings their kids out, their dogs, aunts, uncles, grandparents, like, I want you to see this, see what we did, And so they come out, and it's like it's a family affair. So like the motocross too, like it's open to bring your kids, bring your spouse, bring your whoever you want. It's gonna be a good time. So
yeah, and when you do the motocross, is it just for vets and their family, or can supporters and other people that want to help the cause attend and race as well? Like I know Gene's sons. They all race motocross, and so I just didn't know if that was open. I wouldn't say to the public, but is like a supporter and to help with funding for the cause.
Well, so like as far as who gets to ride our bikes, we typically try and keep it to the vets and first responders, just for wear and tear purposes. And because we also, as a nonprofit, we have rules and guidelines we need to follow as far as making sure that our resources are spent for our targeted demographic, which is vets and first responders with PTSD. So if we allow our sponsors and volunteers to ride our bikes, yes, but not like that. Usually if we're at the Texas Mile, we bring all of our little mini pit bikes and everything. And when we go down to watch Joey race or Joe Fairchild, who is also one of our vets that started racing, you go from our pit, like our home setup where our trailers and stuff are, and you hop on a pit bike and you race down to the end. Like, yes, they can ride those bikes. We welcome everyone to come to the track. A lot of our vets that coach have their own bikes, so they bring their own bikes and they coach our vets. But basically, it's they come if you're a vet and first responder. Those bikes are reserved for them. They can ride them all they want, but we encourage all the family to come and support. And if they have their own bikes, bring your own bikes. So basically, and we're planning on a couple camping trips this year. So like we'll be doing some motocross camping trips. Where we overnight at the track and we can grill and eat and just enjoy each other's company, and that's open to everyone, families, and everything. So yes, we try and encompass as many volunteers and supporters at the motocross track as possible, but the bikes are specifically kind of reserved for the vets so that we make sure that they're used for their intended recipient. So
okay, yeah, I just didn't know if you had if it was like a fundraising type event where supporters could bring their own bikes and ride, or
oh, absolutely.
Okay,
they can absolutely. Yeah, we have people that are at the track that come and ride with us and support us and help us. Help us with we have a mechanical issue. Hey, we don't have that tool, but Wayne up the hill, over there, he has that tool. And
yeah, you can bet on that. That's
it's just a big family out there, and I love the motocross track and the owners. Like everybody says, like, well, why don't you go to that motocross track and that motocross track? And I'm like, because we have a family at this motocross track, and I just like that. I know the family that owns the property. They support us. They don't charge our veterans to come in through the gate, so they're donating, those people, those veterans, entry fee, and we know all the riders there, and everybody knows us. We know them, so we just lean on one another, and they're just very supportive. And then we've also got like a veteran. In November, we have some races where veterans and first responders are the only ones racing out there. So we go to that event. We'll sell our merch out there too, to raise some money. But everybody really embraces us and is very supportive. And yeah, it's definitely a family thing. So
yeah,
we really love that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely awesome. Before we move into questions and stuff for the week, do you want to give like a shout out to, your website, email, Instagram? I'll have you do it again at the end just for anybody that misses it. But I want to give you as much exposure for motorcycle missions as we can.
Absolutely. So the website is motorcyclemissions.org. And our Instagram is the same, Motorcycle Missions, Facebook, Motorcycle Missions. We also have a YouTube channel. We've got some documentaries on there, so you can see some of the documentaries of a few of our bike builds. Our Lincoln Electric build, Lincoln Electric sponsored Build 4, which is our Triumph with the sidecar. So we have a little mini documentary on that build. We've got a documentary on the all-female bike build in the Dofel Winery. So that, yeah, people can go check those out. Not very active on Twitter, but I try. Don't do TikTok or anything like that. Yeah. But yeah, so, and then if anybody's interested in buying merch, our website, there's also a donate button on there for anybody interested. And if you're a vet or first responder and you want to sign up, it doesn't matter where you live. We encourage you to sign up anyways, because you never know, we might end up with an opportunity to build a bike in your city, your town, your area. So, you can go on and sign up to build, sign up to ride. And there's also a volunteer page there. So if you want to sign up to volunteer, if you want to host, if you live in a city in another state, you can volunteer, for anything. And if I see an opportunity there, I'll reach out and say, hey, like, this is actually a good idea. Let's do this. Or, maybe we could do a motocross ride there, in their city or something. Because we do travel a lot. So it could be that we might, just be up for, hitching up our race trailer and coming up to your city for a weekend or something. So yeah. So I just welcome everyone from anywhere to sign up and to sign up to volunteer. That's how we make this run, is through our volunteers. So, yeah.
And I guess they can contact you, like if they have, like a bike they want to donate, or it's not just monetary donations. It could be parts, materials, motorcycle, Absolutely. Any of that.
We do have a lot of people that hit us up because they have some junker bike in their garage. Sometimes the bike is not something that we can actually work with, and usually we do require it to have a title and that kind of thing. For anyone listening that does have a bike that wants to donate it, but it would, because we don't have the room to just store a whole bunch of bikes that people don't want. If it's a bike that runs and somebody wants to donate it, and we can't find a purpose for it as far as a build, but it's something we can donate to a veteran who doesn't have a motorcycle, we do that as well. So we, parts, we do less part donation stuff just because we have so many takeoff parts from our own bikes that we're selling them on eBay, and it's just a full-time job to do that in itself.
Yeah.
But also too, like parts, if they're not new in a box, if they're takeoffs, we don't usually take those because we're taking our own parts off the bike. We don't need more takeoffs. So takeoffs, no, we don't usually accept those, but we do accept bike donations as long as the bike is in, decent condition, or it's maybe something that we think is unique that we can build with. So
yeah.
But yeah, and again, we do take bikes for our vets that don't have a bike. We've done that as well. Yeah. So, but it does require it to have a title and not be a junker. Like,
yeah.
We aren't a motorcycle repair shops. We get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm a vet, and my bike's broken down. I can't." I wish I had the capacity to help guys like that, you know, get their bike back on the road, but it's not feasible, and it's not something that we can do necessarily.
Yeah.
But when you're part of our group and part of the alumni, and hey, we want to go to the shop and we wrench on our bikes at the motorcycle missions shop, something's wrong, we all help each other out in that instance, and you know, to repair or fix. But our goal is, you know, we just don't have the capacity or the manpower or the volunteers to just be fixing everyone's motorcycles.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of broken down motorcycles all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with that, you're not trying to be a motorcycle repair shop. You're bringing people together to help heal them and using the motorcycle as that therapy. So, you know,
yeah.
It seems like a lot of people will either understand that, but if they don't, it's just something, I guess, that would need explained more. But I see where you're coming from. You know, if it was repairs all the time, the therapy side could, it would just turn into repairs and repairs.
Yeah, take away from the therapy side of it.
Yeah.
But it's also very time intensive, and you know, parts and it's a whole, like the custom build is different than the mechanical repair. It's the custom build is an art form. Yeah. So it would be like a sculpture or like a painting, whereas the mechanics side of it is mechanics. Like it's the dirty, gritty, the diagnostics, and it's very, very, very time consuming. So if maybe one day if Motorcycle Missions gets the funding behind us, because right now we bootstrap everything. Like we are like every dollar that comes in goes out to make the program happen for our vets. Like, and I mean, nobody can look at us and say we don't put our money where our mouth is. We put our money exactly where it's intended. So it just, it is what it is. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think what you're doing is awesome. I mean, do you have some time to jump into some of the questions for this week?
Absolutely.
Okay. So before I mentioned that what we're talking about isn't gospel, so I just kind of want to mention that again. It's all anecdotes from what we've experienced through life, and not to take any of it too seriously, because to all our listeners, your experiences might be slightly different than ours, but we're kind of giving what we feel. Our
side of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Only.
So, I've had some people message me like, what you said sounds fine, but that doesn't fit for me. We're not trying to fit for everybody. This is more of a roundtable discussion of this is how we feel about these topics and what we've experienced and how we've learned and grown from it. So just don't take it as gospel. Just take it as advice from an outside source.
Yeah, and if it doesn't fit for you, submit a question that will fit for you.
Exactly.
And we can try to tackle that from our point of view as well.
Yeah. So the first question we have is from Josh S. And earlier, Gene said this was a real tough one.
It's a really good one.
Yeah. What is your idea of success? Krystal, do you want to touch on that? And I mean, this can be personal success, business success. I just look at success as success.
Well, from a personal level, I think success, like, that's a hard one for me, because I don't know. I think for me, success, especially within Motorcycle Missions, is just seeing the veteran and first responder that goes through my program hit me up with a text message that just blows me away. Like, just the impact that Motorcycle Missions has had on their life, the change it's made, just the impact, the life-changing impact, the I can't thank you enough for this saved my life. Those kinds of things for me, on that aspect, that's success. So like one veteran that has that outlook after going through our program is success for me. Just one. It would make everything like this, all the struggle, all the hours, worth it. But I've had a number of those. So it's very heartwarming to me to receive that kind of feedback and to witness these changes. in their lives.
Yeah.
And to see them keeping wanting to come back for more, and then them also opening up and helping and volunteering in a different way. So they're not necessarily the recipient; they're now volunteering their time to help the next group of vets. That's success to me, and as far as motorcycle missions goes, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think, Gene? Did you figure anything out?
Yeah, I think I did. So I think it bounces back because I don't think I ever would have started my own thing had I not had some form of financial success, where I landed a pretty lucky job. For whatever reason, I was a kind of it wasn't a temp agency, but I was working at another place, and they subbed me in to do some job that I was not qualified for, and then I pulled it off somehow. And my boss took a liking to me, gave me a full-time job. I got a very huge raise, a bump in pay that it changed everything. And I don't think I was even mature enough for that position, but really taking on that financial responsibility of being able to do things that I probably shouldn't have been able to do, it really opened my eyes up to where it put me at in life. And then fast forward, I think like 5 years of that job, people started getting laid off. They sold us out to a different company, and I had at that point saved up enough money that where I was comfortable not having a job for 6 months if that's what happened. But at that 6-month period, I gave myself 6 months to put something together, and I'd always tinkered with cars, but I was lucky enough that I went into my garage, I bought a 2-post lift that's just a crummy old Globe lift, and started doing just basic maintenance there. And like I said, I'd always had, like, back in my Ricer days, I had Hondas and stuff that I worked on, and it kind of just aspired from there and started doing brakes and clutches and stuff on people's cars and grandma's cars. And that really pushed me to actually be successful in not only just working, but a relationship. I think it all just continuously kept pushing me forward to be a better person. And I really wasn't that great of a person when I was 23. I don't know that anybody really is, but no. I really wasn't, and I was in a relationship that I wasn't happy with. And then I started my business, and she wasn't happy with who I was because I was spending so much time. But I don't think I don't think it was the time frame that I was giving myself at work versus home at that point. I think it was just not being happy, not being successful in a relationship. So at that point, I started my actual shop at a true location, and spent way more time there. And I was lucky enough to find my fiance 3 years ago, and she pushes me.
Yeah.
So I think I'm successful at life, not just work, not making money, because I'm not rich by any means doing what I do. And
the good thing is, like, kind of what you're talking about will tie into one of our other questions later on, but we'll kind of loop back to that.
Yeah, so I think happiness, just being every day happy with who you are as a person in society, is successful.
Yeah, and I kind of, mine's similar to that. For me, success is freedom. Whether that is creative freedom, what I spend my time on in the shop, at home, who I spend my time with, what I work on. Kind of like you, I'm not rich. I don't base things based on money. I base it on time.
Yep.
If I want to go on a vacation, it's going to cost $10,000. I'm exchanging X amount of hours to get that money. So I'm trading time for time. So to me, freedom is ultimate success. I don't want to be on the cover of GQ, or
Right.
I don't want to be top 10 richest person in the world. That's not what I want.
Yeah, I'd say if your bills are paid.
I totally thought GQ was in your future, Mike.
That'd be the best cover photo I've ever seen on GQ.
I'm sure I'm going to get an email of photoshopped.
Well, I want to see it.
Oh man, that'd be terrible. I don't even think I've looked at a GQ. That was the only magazine I could think of that was somewhat appropriate. But
yeah, I think having your bills paid and then the freedom to do what makes you and your loved ones happy, I think that really sums it up.
Yeah, and
see, that is what I aspire to one day.
Well, your success came from financially from nursing, correct? I mean,
Well, no. I mean,
had you were saying, you're nursing and your savings, and you had to go back to full-time work and whatnot. You wouldn't. You're a nurse. You have to work in order to have the free time to do what you want. So,
I mean, the one thing that I can say I'm really excited about is my mortgage and my car are paid off.
That's awesome.
That's
so
phenomenal.
that's awesome. But I have had 2 failed marriages, and at 23, I got married at 18, and then again at 22, which is the dumbest shit I've ever done in my life. And then I wish I had traveled. I feel like I have a lot more travel in me. Like, I mean, travel afar, not just travel domestically. But and I think once I've done that, I will, like, yeah, I think then I'll be like, I am truly successful, because that's just something I long for so bad, is to travel. Yeah. But right now I'm looking around my house going, when am I going to have time to, like, clean?
Yeah.
So, one day.
Yeah, and
you'll never be caught up. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the freedom thing for me is like, when I was first starting the shop, when I was 19, 20 years old, it's like everybody in that age, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna travel the world. Everybody's gonna see my picture. I'm gonna go to dinner and people are gonna want my autograph. That sounds absolutely terrible now. Like, Krystal and I, like, we're friends with Aaron Kaufman and Carrie Hart and a lot of bigger celebrities in the scene, and we'll go to SEMA, and it's I feel so bad for them, because they can't turn around without somebody wanting their autograph or want to give them a hug, and I'm like, man, I'm glad I didn't get to that level. I mean, Aaron and Carrie and all the other guys that are celebrities in our field, they handle it very well and they never turn anybody away, but that's just not for me. And that goes into the freedom thing. I want to be free to move and not be, I don't want it to sound wrong, but, I want to be free to walk around and not get bombarded by people.
Right.
I just don't have that personality that can handle it.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Some other people, they enjoy it. They feed off of that.
Yeah.
And
me, it's like cringeworthy. Like, I'll go to a car show and I'll get out of one of my cars and I'll run to the other side of the parking lot, because I don't want anybody to know that's my car.
Well, and another way to look at it is, for a lot of the people that you mentioned, that's their livelihood.
Yeah.
So they have to be turned on all the time, because if they're not, they lose money, or they lose the sponsorships or the whatever. So I don't know. I try and look at it that way sometimes. And I mean, there's some people who egotistically feed off that. That's a different story. But
yeah, and I think
if you're making a livelihood off it, and that's your livelihood, and that's it, then I don't think you have much choice.
Yeah, and you don't think of that stuff until you are around it with friends in the industry and seeing that firsthand. I'm glad I never pursued that level more than I did. Once I realized freedom is what I wanted, not money and fame, that kind of changed everything. Our next question.
I can't say I've ever wanted money or fame, but I've definitely just wanted to be accepted by my peers and do good and be comfortable and not have to worry about the future, kind of. I think that's...
Yeah, and that'll tie into one of our other questions too, with fitting in with your peers, because I'll touch more on it when we get there. I don't fit in very well. People say I don't play well with others. It is what it is. I always try to be nice to everybody and give the respect where respect is due, but sometimes that just doesn't work.
I feel like I might be the opposite. Sometimes I think I just speak my mind far too much, and I have less than a handful of people that can handle my personality, but I mean good. One of my best friends I was talking to last night, he's like, you're quite the asshole, but if somebody can understand what you're trying to say, you mean well in what you're saying. You just say it how it needs to be said. And sorry, you can't handle reality.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, everybody loves the truth until you speak the truth about them, and then you're the asshole. Yeah. So, but
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we can touch on that in a little bit. The next question we have is, this is also from Josh S. what was or is one of the projects that got your name out there that really stands out above others? What do you think, Gene?
I don't think that I've even reached that yet, honestly. I think I've been plugging away so hard at trying to build a name now. I want to be, I want to be more known for just the performance stuff, but we've been plugging away at just regular maintenance work a lot lately. That this year is really the first year that we've done some pretty sick jobs, and we've got a couple in the shop now that I think are really going to set us on the map. So I can't answer that question yet. I think ask me that again next year.
Yeah. How about you, Krystal? Do you have one or two bikes that stand above all the others?
Our second bike build, the board tracker that I was telling you about, the one that won the national championship, really put motorcycle missions on the global radar. Like we got featured in a number of magazines, and it was a pretty prestigious award because through bike builders competing all across the country, we are the ones that won. Yeah. And the competition went on for, 8 months. So that really put motorcycle missions, globally on the map. A lot of people recognize us from other countries as well now, but and the fact that it's in a museum is really cool. But that bike in particular was very impactful for us as far as getting us recognition in the industry.
Yeah,
for sure. And that one was headed up by Air Force veteran David Roy.
Very cool.
From Voodoo Vintage, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the picture of that thing right now. It is sick. It is just.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that one.
Have you seen that one specifically? That's amazing.
Yeah, and for me, the more this goes on, the more everybody's going to realize kind of how weird I am. I try not to focus on past accomplishments or things like that. I'm always focused on the present and the future. The past is the past, and I let it stay there. I think some of the projects that helped my career along the way was the Mingus Coupe, which is a green Model A coupe. I did maybe 5 or 6 years ago. We finished it up. I didn't look at the dates when we completed it, but it was a really nice traditional hot rod, and I got to take it over. And then for my metal shaping career, I think the Rouster Indy Roadster was a big one, and the polished Aston Martin DB4 Zagato that I did some repairs on, that was a big one. Just kind of spotlighted more the sheet metal fabrication side than just tube chassis and general hot rod fabrication. I'm hoping the XF modified gas roadster that I'm doing for Bonneville now, I hope that kind of takes me to a different level in the industry. It shows, chassis engineering and sheet metal stuff. So hopefully that's kind of where will be the next project that kind of.
You might have changed things for everyone.
I don't know about all that.
The way you've overdone it.
Me overdo something, I highly doubt it. I tend to get carried away. All right, so the next question is from Tony A. Have you had to deal with others spreading rumors or trying to tarnish your reputation? If so, how have you handled that? I say fuck them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's when I was younger, it was different, and I think everybody listening that is a human has had to deal with it in one way or another. And when you're younger, you want to fight that battle. You want to defend yourself and prove everybody wrong and put your side of the story out. And coming up through business, I was always advised from other people that were older and smarter than me, just let it go. Don't bring it up. Don't add any fuel to the fire. But being young and dumb, no, I got to defend myself, and it made it 10 times worse. So now with what I've tried to grow personally and emotionally, I don't care. Some of the people that want to run their mouths, I wouldn't piss in their mouth if their teeth were on fire. But I just don't have time for it. Jesse James actually had a good quote the other day. Somebody asked something similar and he said he doesn't pay attention to people who don't work as hard as he does, which, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at as well. If a guy wants to run his mouth while he's sitting at home in his underwear at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday eating Doritos, yelling at me on the internet, I don't care, you know?
Sorry I missed that 2 days ago.
Yeah. And another one, like when I was kind of researching this question, there's always been a saying, and I actually looked up where it came from, and it's actually a biblical quote. I try not to suffer fools. So don't suffer fools gladly, which means one who does not tolerate stupidity in others, and that comes from 2 Corinthians 11:19 from the Bible. So that's the same thing. Like, I just don't have time for other people's stupidity, you know?
It's not going to get you anywhere.
No.
Except for down in yourself if you actually let it soak into you.
Exactly.
If you even get to that point.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, because nobody else has put you where you're at in life, so why let them stop you now or change your direction? So
yeah, and it's all like 12-year-old little girl stuff. You know, my therapist, which I'm actually thinking about having my therapist on an episode of the podcast, just so there's a professional side to this. You know, it all stems from jealousy and envy of what other people are doing. You know, that's what everybody's mom said. Like, don't worry, honey, he's just jealous, and that's why he says mean things. It's true.
she was right.
Yeah. You know, it sounds so dumb, but they're jealous of something, either of your success, what you have, what you're doing.
Freedom.
You know, it's just all silly, and I try not to let that bother me anymore.
Yep.
I mean, I know I kind of stole that one.
Yeah, I think you might have answered it for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any more to add to that, Krystal?
Well, I mean, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I know that for me, being a woman, I mean, I hate the whole woman, I'm a woman, so woe is me or whatever, and we're just spent. I don't believe in that at all. But I have been told, because I was born and raised in Canada, so I've recently had another nonprofit organization that actually is a spinoff of what I've already done. Tell me that because I'm a woman and because I'm from Canada and because I'm not a veteran, I have no business doing what I'm doing. So, and it's even come as far as like in the motorcycle build scene when we're at like rallies and events that these guys have actually been so brazen to come to my tent to pick fights with us, and it's just like, wow. I don't know what the hell goes through people's minds. Yeah. And if you're directly taking the same concept of my organization and you've copied it, and then you're coming to my tent and you're picking on my vets and myself, I mean, you're going to hang yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, and that's just all you have to do is you just have to let them self-destruct. Yeah. Because that kind of behavior and that kind of bullying is not, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, that's just so sad too. Cause I mean, it's not like you're out there pocketing money. You know, you are doing something amazing for a community and you're donating your time and helping our veterans. Who cares where it comes from?
Well, yeah, and they've accused me of that too. So I'm really excited, like pocketing money. So I'm just like, all right, well, so my W-2s or whatever, the 1099s are all posted publicly, and also, you know, I'm actually looking into getting ourselves an internal audit just so I can have, you know, that paper that says, look, you assholes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I mean, and that's just so silly because that's one thing that I still draw the line on. Like if somebody wants to run their mouth about me or what I do, I just let that go.
Well, and it's crazy because like it's not warranted, and then also too like I've noticed that to justify their behavior they have to lie and lie about motorcycle missions. So it's to I guess to elevate themselves and make themselves, you know, if the words I've heard out of their mouths is to my other vets is, if you want to join a real veteran nonprofit, come over here. Yeah. So
you can imagine somebody trying to steal someone like that. I'm sure it's nonprofit, you know, like why would you go out of your way to to steal an opportunity from someone else that doesn't benefit you.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to help the same demographic. So if you're going to be in this area, then let's work together. Don't bully and slander my organization to elevate yourself so that you can win over my sponsors. And I've had them contact my sponsor, badmouth me. And so my sponsors call me and say, hey, I just got a call from so-and-so, and this is what they just said. Like, what the fuck? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Kind of where I was going was, what I don't tolerate anymore is straight up like idea theft, property theft, that kind of stuff, or just straight up misinformation. That's where I'll draw the line. People running their mouths is one thing, but when somebody steals a concept and then tries to take ownership, that's where I tend to get a little salty. And I mean, it's not like I'll go out guns a-blazing, but I'll do my best to kind of set the record straight with, facts, some kind of proof with dates and stuff like that. And I mean, I can only imagine, Krystal, in your aspect where it's just so petty sounding,
It's petty and it's actually painful. Like they don't understand, like, for someone like me to like, if anyone goes into my backstory, I came from a real trauma that led me to motorcycles, and motorcycles actually changed and saved my life. And so I just turned my passion into a nonprofit. Because I'm a nurse and I love mission work. Like, I go and travel overseas, and I volunteer nursing in third world countries and things like that. And this was like, I want to do this, but this motorcycle thing has been put in my life for a reason. And so I felt guided to do this, and to slander and to in the politics nowadays, I heard you say the word misinformation, but if anyone's watching news right now, you hear the word disinformation and misinformation out of everybody's freaking mouth.
Yep.
And all I want to scream at the TV and say, why don't we call it what it is? It's a lie.
Yeah.
Like, nobody tells the truth anymore.
No.
And so the fact that these guys are, like, without any conscience going to my sponsors and lying to everyone, like, I go to bed at night going, I am absolutely clear of this. It's not me, it's them. So you just have to, but there are times it's super aggravating, and I get anxious and I get really upset, and I want to, like, I want to knock some sense into them and say, like, what the hell, guys? Like, but I can't control them. I can't control what they do.
Yeah.
I can't control what they say. I can only keep my head down and keep doing what I'm doing. And then, to squash all of the rumors, all I can do is put my best foot forward and keep doing what I'm doing, and my results and the evidence I have of that will put that to rest. But if anyone's
speak for themselves.
Stupid enough to believe them, and that's on them, then they're the blind leading the blind at that point.
Yeah.
But
and what you just said is really good, because that kind of leads us into our next question from Jamie S. is, what are your feelings on personal growth versus professional growth? Is there a correlation? So it's the same thing, I have here written in my notes that they go completely hand in hand. If you work on your personal growth, your professional will follow.
Yeah.
So if everybody's out there running their mouth, lying, whatever, if you just become a better human being, it'll put all that stuff to rest. If you're always focusing on, whatever, Timmy Two-Tone over there said, I don't really care. I'm just going to focus on me and being a better person than I was yesterday. What are they going to complain about?
I've been really, really proud of my team, because, like, my build mentors, like, they've been taken advantage of by these guys in a couple ways. And, never once have we ever, like, gone and talked shit about them. It's just always, but we've always given more. We've always given more to them, even though they're bullying us. We give them, we respect give them respect. We give them everything that they don't deserve. And we keep our heads cool. Like,
well, I think the fact you haven't said their name or anything yet here this whole time, that alone says something. I'm sure if they were on right now, they wouldn't be doing the same. So.
Yeah.
Well, two of the guys showed up at one of our events to bully us, and the president of my organization was there, and he, like, just the fact that he handled it so well. Like, I'm just really proud of my team and their candor and their just how they've handled this extra stuff that's negative. You know, we have really been the bigger person, and you know, like, one of the guys got a 30% discount off his brand new truck because one of my build mentors works. You know, it's just we still are giving them support and are still here. You know, if they ever want to come back around, and you know, we've not kicked them to the curb, and nor would we ever bully them. But
yeah,
I was just going to say I'm really proud of my team for their personal strength and growth. How they use that to handle this, and then also just the responsibilities of motorcycle missions in general too.
Yeah, and you know, when we're all younger, everybody's like, oh, you know, just let it go and kill them with kindness. I'm not big on killing people with kindness, but I'm all about murdering them with my success. So I don't let, you know, this goes into, you know, personal growth. I don't let those people take place in my mind anymore. They don't live there rent-free. You know, I push them out, and then I just focus on me being the most successful human being I can, whether that be with freedom, business, whatever. I focus on me and my life, and if they hate me for it, fuck them. You know, that's a them problem, not a me problem. So, you know, it's funny because these questions come in and they all kind of tie together, but they kind of don't. I think all of our episodes are eventually going to start tying together. Yeah. But it's, you know, if you raise your personal standards with who you want to be, how you want to be, how you want to represent yourself to the public, to your friends, to your family, all of your professionalism is going to follow right behind that, because it becomes a standardized practice.
Yeah, it's a daily practice. That's what I was just thinking about.
You know, I mean, if you're a shitty human being on a personal level, you're going to be a shitty business owner just because you don't know the difference.
Yeah, you go every day practicing life, no matter what it is, and life as a whole is personal and professional. So
yeah. I mean, I'm not the most professional person. I mean, I am human, and I still have my mistakes and say and do things I shouldn't. But it goes back to that practice. I'm always trying to be better.
Well, I'd like to hear from your therapist on that.
Yeah, we're working on the paperwork. She's kind of nervous about coming on. She's like, man, this could be like, you'd have to sign all these waivers so I can talk about. I'm like, you can talk about whatever you want, but you know, that's another thing I'll talk a lot about. I mean, I'm not ashamed that I have a therapist and I have to talk out kind of what I'm going through with a professional, but I think that could be huge on this podcast, having a therapist come on and kind of touching on these topics that we all struggle with, whether we want to admit to it or not, you know. And, you know, some people self-medicate, some people don't medicate, and they just push all their feelings down, and it comes out in a really negative way later on in life. So, I mean, hopefully she comes on and we can touch on that later on. But, I mean, that'll be a really good episode when she does come on, because she's a fun therapist. She's not lay on the couch and let me read a textbook to you. She's an interesting person.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we've got one more question, and it's the standard show question, which is, Krystal, what is some advice you want to tell young people or other people interested in pursuing fabrication more seriously?
I think it's a great idea. I think that trades are undervalued in our society, and I think, especially now, I mean, trades are the way to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, practice makes perfect. I, for instance, because of all my operations with motorcycle missions, I don't get to tinker as much as I'd like, and I don't get to perfect my skills as much as I'd like. But the most successful guys I've seen in those industries are the ones that just, you know, that are practicing at home, you know, just in their garage, getting the tools and just working. And, you know, they might be the guys that are not going out and partying on a Friday night. They're focusing on their future and practicing their trade, and freaking by the time they're 25 or 30, they're killing it.
Yeah, and I think that goes back into, the whole personal growth thing. The party life is one thing if that's what you want for yourself, but if you want to be, on your A game and as successful as you can with what you see success as, partying every Friday night might not be the way to go. It's personal responsibility.
Yeah, I think I've noticed a lot of just like looking through social media here lately. I look at people that have what their profession is, their job, and there has to be people that are living their life paycheck to paycheck, week to week, and then I see these people, they're out on a boat somewhere on a lake drinking it up, and like if that's you, that's fine. I'm not judging that, but like, where are you going to end up at mentally? Your mental decay is happening. Don't get me wrong, I like to have a good time every once in a while, but or on the weekends, whatever, with my friends at the motocross track watching my kids crash. But I can't foresee living the life that some of these people do, just absolutely obliterating themselves every single weekend, and then
and then Monday comes around and they complain that they're broke and life's not fair.
It's. But I as she was saying earlier, and I don't mean to touch on it too hard, but you said you came from some trauma, and I honestly I did too. My life was not great at all whatsoever. I didn't have parents that took care of me. I lived with friends throughout high school, just trying to graduate, and I had nothing. When I was in middle school, I wore the same pair of pants to school. I had the same pair of shoes. My coaches bought me track shoes and cleats for football, and there's no excuse to not be something. There's not. It's I didn't run into the bad life. I made the best of it, and you have to do the same thing for yourself. And if you don't, that's your fault. It's nobody else's.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's you have something else to say, Krystal?
I was gonna say some of the things I've encountered is people who are like, well, how did you get that, or how did you do that, or well, can you hire me? Can I work for you? Not me in particular, but I've seen it around, especially just in my circles. And it's like, well, bro, first of all, I would never hire you because you have no ambition, and you can't do these things for yourself. But you have to work hard, and you can barely get up off the couch. So, but I think that's also a thing we're seeing in society nowadays too, is the entitlement and the, and it's being largely pushed in politics that everybody deserves stuff for free. And don't have to work for it. But that's the biggest freaking trap I've ever heard in my life. Yeah,
and with the politics thing, I don't want to get into politics a ton because to me it doesn't matter what your political view is, but I think it's both sides. All politicians are kind of pushing this situation we're diving into head first, unfortunately.
But I think you just need to work your ass off.
Yep.
You're in charge of your own destiny, and nobody else is responsible for your bills, and nobody, if you take out a loan, pay it back. If you, and you can't blame society and other people for your failures. It's all on you.
Yeah.
And I've had to deal with that own self-reflection myself. I've done, I wish I had done some things differently. I wish I had done better in school. I wish I had gone to med school. I have lots of regrets and things, but you just, work your ass off and you'll go places. Motorcycle missions didn't happen by me sitting on the couch. I don't sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Somebody recently said that girl Krystal, she makes her steps count.
Yeah.
So you get up early, you grind, and you work hard, and it pays off.
Nobody's going to give it to you, and if they do, you're probably going to piss it away anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, with that, the final question there, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing I say every week. You just have to get out there and do it. Whether you're doing it wrong or right, you're going to learn. And taking that first step of just doing is the most important step, because, you know, you can sit on the couch in your underwear all you want and just think about, well, ifs and buts and candies and nuts, or you could go out there and do it and learn something. You know, whether it's good or bad, everything is a learning experience. And
well,
I think...
Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, you're good.
I just wanted to jump in because I got excited. But
yeah.
the whole thing about my journey is, like, I was a really battered soul, battered physically and emotionally, and I actually had a complex where I couldn't talk publicly. Like, I had a hard time calling someone.
Mm-hmm.
It would give me anxiety because I don't know, I just felt, you know, I was bullied a lot during childhood, so I grew up a very insecure teen and struggling with all the things teens deal with anyways, and then on top of that, bullying and everything else. But when I left an abusive marriage in Canada, and I decided to take advantage of my dual citizenship that I have, I moved down here. I actually got the word brave tattooed on me someplace, and it was just for me, like a kind of like a message to myself, reminding myself to be brave. Like, and I decided, I remember it was like a switch turning on, was like, I'm no longer a victim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to allow my life circumstances to dictate my future. So I made a conscious decision to bold the fuck up. And all I did from then on was say yes to everything.
Yeah.
I got on that motorcycle. I rode that motorcycle. I YouTubed how to ride a motorcycle, how to start it, how to get on it, how to shift in the parking lot after borrowing a motorcycle from a dealership.
Wow.
They're like, you know how to ride, right? Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, I do. And I went out to the parking lot and I YouTubed it.
When was this? How long ago was this?
2011.
Wow.
2012. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So if you go on my website and read my story, I was building motorcycles before I knew how to ride. So I have a really weird story. But I decided to grab life by the horns, as the saying goes, and I was not going to say no to anything. The only thing I'll say no to is skydiving. Fuck that. I'm not jumping out of an airplane ever in my life unless I'm forced to.
You've never lived then, because just on a side tangent, I had never flown before I had jumped out of a plane twice. You know, so it was kind of a weird thing. It's like, oh, first time in a plane, I think I'll jump out. But yeah, I think you would enjoy it.
No, but I mean, I've said yes to this, yes to that. I'm saying, you know, I've made a conscious decision to say yes to opportunity. Anytime someone gives me an opportunity, I try to make it work. I grab it and I say yes. And that's actually been a large part of my personal, and, you know, the success with motorcycle missions has been holding the fuck up, braving up, and then leveling up as a result. Mm-hmm. So but you don't do that. I would be still a victim, feeling sorry for myself, without all the personal growth that I've had. And I'd still be scared to be on the phone, you know, talking to people. And now I'm able to do podcasts, and I get on the mic and I can talk in front of 1,000, 5,000 people. That didn't come from just allowing myself to stay in my victimhood. It was really a personal growth thing.
Yeah. And
it's worked for me. So I'm pretty sure, you know, and just like that vet in my program who said he had a hard time in social settings, just even talking to people. And now he's like decided to go back to school, and he's now in a relationship, and he's moved to a different city and is building a life that he would never have done that before. So if he didn't, you know, make that conscious decision to get out and do something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You just have to take the initiative to make the first step to whatever those goals are.
Exactly. You can't just start working for somebody like that one guy I told you about and just say, well, give it to me. No, that's not how that works.
Yeah. Everything has to be earned one way or another.
And you gotta be willing to be uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, growth is uncomfortable, you know, getting better in every aspect. It's hard. That's why it's uncomfortable. And, you know, you just can't take the easy way out in anything in life. It's a constant battle and constant pushing forward.
Yeah, you gotta fail and mess up too. Those are far more important aspects than succeeding.
Yeah.
If you go through and you're just crushing it, and then you finally fail, it's gonna crush you.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, and you got to grow a spine, and I've had a hard time with the criticism because it's painful. Like especially when it's not true and you're being accused of things, it's so painful.
Yeah.
But like having the maturity to kind of like I have grown as a person so much that I'm able to like sit back and like analyze it and talk myself through it. Well, why do I feel that way? Do I need to feel that way? How does this impact you in the long run? How does it, you know, is it important that you dwell on this, or is you dwelling on it going to solve it or change anything? And being able to actually like maturely, you know, sort through those issues helps an awful lot as you're, you know, in personal growth, but also just managing conflict in those uncomfortable scenarios and inconvenient scenarios. Yep. And being successful is not convenient either.
No,
it's
you miss out on a lot of fun things that you could be doing.
Yeah, and it's funny, but like you know, relatable to you. I mean, I was picked on my entire school career. You know, everybody made fun of me. I was the poor loser kid, whatever. And you know that's why I think I've always struggled with trying to defend myself, because as a child, you know, being picked on and, you know, beat up and all that stuff, I couldn't defend myself. So sitting at home brewing on it and thinking about how I could do things different, and if only they could see my side of the story, that was the only control I had. So trying to reprogram as an adult to just let that stuff go is, you know, is a real challenge. And, you know, I think me and you can relate to that, Krystal, and I'm sure Gene can too, you know.
Yeah, I was pretty roughneck life, I guess. Yeah. Back, you know, I didn't have parents around, and all my cousins kind of picked on me, so it made me pretty well-rounded and aggressive in handling things. But you know, I went to like 11 different schools from freaking Norwood all the way up to Dayton, Ohio, and everything in between. And I never made friends, so I was literally every year I was always the new kid every single year, and people would try to pick on me, and you know, I was suspended a lot for fighting. Yeah. So, you know, I did fight back, and fortunately I was pretty good at it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like the business side of things, like learning how to fabricate and build cars, for me, that's the easy side. You know, handling my temper and, you know, rage or whatever you want to call it, to defend myself and stop all this bullshit has been the hardest thing, you know, that I've ever done. Because it's one of those things, I've got a lot of sayings that, you know, I keep in the back of my mind of, you know, don't reply to anybody. Wait at least 12 hours.
I think I remember you telling me that too.
Because I'll say something stupid, and I know I will, and sometimes I can't control it, and I already know I'm going to regret it.
Yeah, I think you said that to me once upon a time, just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, just wait, and the next morning I never give a shit. I'm like, why did I say anything? Because I don't care. Yeah. You know, so it's... That's the best. No response is the best response. Exactly. And I mean, I know we kind of ran off on a tangent. I don't know what we were talking about, but you know, with everybody in this industry, I think we're all somewhat relatable. We all have criticism. We all have people out there that don't like us because of we stepped on his 4-leaf clover when we were 3 years old, and he's never let it go.
Because of the past. Yeah. It's always and only because of the past.
And that's one of the big reasons why I focus on the future. Yeah, there's no point in dwelling in the past, because it's gone. It's not here anymore.
Now, there are a few people in life that have made a very solid print on me that I could ever care for at all. But you know, I don't go out of my way to make it known. You know, I just kind of brush it off when they're there and roll on with it.
Yep. Well, Krystal, do you have anything else you want to?
Tough times make tough people. That's what
right.
I like saying.
That's 100% true.
Yeah, I don't know how that whole saying goes to the T, but tough times create tough men, and tough men create easy times, and easy times
create weak people.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all I've got. Krystal, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And you want to plug all your stuff again, just for anybody that's forgot or didn't write it down?
Yeah. So we're motorcyclemissions.org, missions with an S on the end. Some people miss that. And so it's Motorcycle Missions. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and not really Twitter. Well, Twitter, we're on there, Moto Missions. But website has all the volunteer forms and donate buttons, and you can buy merch to support us. So all the money that anybody donates to us and all the merch they buy, all that money goes back into the program. It funds all of our classes, all the material, all the overhead, everything. So yeah, and thank you so much for thinking of me and having me on your show. I really, really appreciate it. I really admire your work.
Oh, thank you. And
I watch it and just, wow, I'm just always in awe of the stuff that comes out of your shop. So
thank you. I'm glad you came on. And I mean, it's been so awesome that we met. I mean, it's probably been 2018, 2019 when I was doing that class down in Dallas. And, I mean, you're always so much fun when we get to see each other, like at SEMA a couple years ago before the world shut down. And, it was good catching up.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I still do want to make it up there to see your space too. So
yeah, anytime you're up this way, you're always welcome. And I don't know if you've had anybody from the Cincinnati area that's wanted to do a motorcycle missions project, but I mean, my shop is always available for that kind of stuff. I always want to give back, especially to the veterans, because they do so much for our country and for us.
Well, that would be really cool. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Cincinnati area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Gene, what are your socials?
I haven't fired up the old Instagram yet. I'm still putting some stuff together, trying to do that, make a professional account. But just got a Facebook for the old AutoWorks Performance. It's AUTOWERX Performance, and then my personal page, just Gene Atkins. So next week I think
Atkins with a T, not a D,
correct.
Because I got yelled at because I spelled his name wrong.
So
yep.
I'll have the Instagram fired up next week and start putting some stuff on there with these new builds we got.
Cool. And I'm Cornfield Customs on everything. And next week we have Adam Brock, also known as Avocado Brock on Instagram. He does a lot of rally car racing and rally car cages all across the country. He's a real interesting guy. He's got a really cool, it's like a self-sufficient van. So he lives the van life, but his fab shop is in the van. Okay. So he travels around to shops, puts cages in. Like he takes the tubing, brackets, everything in his van and builds them out of it. It's super cool. So he's a really good guy. So make sure to tune in next week for that. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all your podcast listening devices. Tell a friend so we can continue to grow. I really want this to take off because I think we've got a lot of good stuff with a lot of good guests to help the industry, whether you're a beginner or somebody that's been in business 10 years, or you're just a consumer that wants to see how the inside works and kind of how our process is mentally and physically in the shop. If you have any comments or questions you want to hear on the show, please email those to fabricationstationpodcast@gmail.com. And thanks for listening and all the continued support. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, Gene, and thanks, Krystal.
Peace out, guys.
Thank you, guys.